afternoon. Welcome to this information session on the specialization, the Master Specialization Business Studies. My name is Joost Visser. I am the program manager of this specialization, and I will give you information today about the specialization, hopefully everything you need to know. And the way I will do that is following the following 5 points. I will explain what is actually the business studies specialization, why does it exist, for whom is it intended. Then we go a little bit into the structure of the program, what courses, things like that. I will say something about the teaching approach that we employ in this program. And I will finalize with some comments on the employment perspectives for those that actually choose to follow this specialization. And after those items, of course, there's time for questions, which I will try to answer as well as I can. And you are already, during my presentation, able to submit your questions to the chat. So you don't need to save them until the end. You can already type them now if you have them. So go ahead, and in the end, I will address them. So what is the business studies specialization? Well, this is not an entire 2-year master program, but instead it's, an elective program, meaning that when you are a student in a master program at the Faculty of Science or at the Medical School of LUMC, then you're able to enroll in this program as a specialization. This means that in the second year of your master, you will follow the business studies specialization courses on top of the courses that you have done then already in your first year of your master. This is open for all kinds of students from different disciplines. They are listed here: astronomy, physics, mathematics, biomedical sciences, chemistry, biopharmaceutical sciences, biology, life sciences, and technology. Those students are able to access our program. And of course, by enrolling, you make a particular choice. You choose to, on top of your scientific education and your scientific training that you get in your own master, to complement that with business management, entrepreneurship aspects. The program focuses on doing that for organizations that are science-based and technology intensive. So that's the aim of the program. Why does this program exist? Well, of course, some master students following a science master will at some point go into academia and develop a scientific career at the long term. But many of them do not. So many of them actually flow not into academia, but take their master into industry, into government, in non-academic working contexts. And to be prepared for that, it is especially advantageous to follow this specialization. Because what it's meant to do, it allows you to enter into the labor market more prepared, because you will acquire a more broad set of competencies than strictly offered in your scientific discipline. Also, once you have entered into the labor market with an edge, so to speak, also in further career advancement, when you develop your career further, you have to your disposal a very valuable toolbox of managerial and entrepreneurial tools that you can employ to address questions and issues and help develop strategies that go beyond purely your scientific discipline, but are, for instance, commercial, strategic, or operational in nature, and you are able to flow into different types of roles. So what we offer is a program that is network and case-based on management, business, and entrepreneurship. And we focus on science-driven companies and exploiting business opportunities that are created by research. So in that sense, we really operate on the interface between science and organizations and business. Why is that? Well, actually, science students are, of course, very well equipped with analytical skills, with problem-solving skills, ability to learn fast, to funnel your creative thinking in a structured way. And there's a need for that because companies increasingly work on complex problems, complex in all kinds of ways, but requiring staff that is proficient in advanced scientific methods, that knows more than management, knows more about the domain in which you operate and structured scientific approaches to management. So there's a great need for people that come out of university with all these skills. You're highly valuable after this program for industry and for business, but of course you do need a little bit of extra on top of your scientific training. You need to be familiar, you have to have familiarized yourself with the world outside of fundamental research. You have to have taken a look outside of the ivory tower, so to speak. You have to have fundamental basic knowledge of key business functions such as strategy, marketing, operations, finance, well, etc. But these key business functions, you have to have knowledge about them and a little bit of practical sense about them as well. And you have to have acquired some skills in management, innovation, business development, and things like that. And those are the things that we offer in this program to students. Actually, if you look at the program, we approach this intersection between science and society, science and business in two ways. Then you can have two perspectives on it. On the one side, it's about turning science into business. Technology transfer, if you will, science transfer. Examples of organizations where this is relevant and where this is happening and where they can use our alumni is, for instance, Janssen, Merck, Philips, ASML, DSM, companies like that are looking for people like you. And on the other hand, businesses that are not necessarily in the business of transferring science into business are also in a need of a scientific approach to business. And, well, we're talking, for instance, Accenture, other consultancies, McKinsey, financials, retail companies that have this need of approaching their business in a much more rigorous and scientific way to be more successful. For instance, involving a lot of data crunching and analytics and strategy that goes beyond, let's say, classical management methods. So, hopefully that gives you an idea what this business studies specialization is and why it exists and for whom it's intended. And let's now dive a little bit deeper into the program structure. This is the structure, so three main pieces. First piece are the core courses, the mandatory courses for everybody, and I will dive into them a little bit more in the following slides. So that's one important part, and there the kind of key business functions are addressed in different courses. Then there's the part of the internships. These are business internships where you will be hosted by a business, by an organization, helping solve their problems using the toolbox you have learned in this specialization. And then there is a block of electives, courses that you can choose to your need to complement and deepen the knowledge you have in the way you like. And yeah, these three parts together form our specialization, one-year specialization. So let's look first for a moment at those core courses. So they're listed here. So as you can see, the basic business functions. So let me start a little bit down the line. Strategy and technology, that's where everything starts. Having an overview of the organization, the competitive landscape, etc. Then, of course, marketing. Marketing science helps about knowing your customer, knowing what the market is all about, how to follow your customers in their journey. Then there's operations management. How can you actually deploy the technology or the scientifically based products that you have? How can you produce them, deploy them, etc. And then, of course, you want to, in the end, be profitable with it. So strategic financial management addresses the financial part of organizations. And then finally, in this list, you see research methods, because, of course, in your master, in your scientific discipline, you learn about science, you learn the scientific method, but when you start applying that in organizational context, there's something extra to be learned, a little bit from social science methodology that you can also apply to actually combined with more the quantitative and let's say rigorous scientific methods to make sure that you actually are able to operate in a business context. So that's a quick rundown of these core components, and here they are in a little bit more detail in terms of learning outcomes and learning goals. So for instance, for strategy, you will learn to formulate strategies to achieve sustainable competitive advantage. So this packed in that there's a lot of information. So competitive advantage means that you know what your competitors are, how the market is working, but also where things are going into the future, what's coming up, and where business is to be done. And knowing that is not enough, that you have to then formulate a strategy that leads to action of actually grabbing those opportunities. That's what the strategy courses are about. Marketing is about how to engage with your customers, both before they become your customer, your prospective customers, but also once they are in a journey with you, because once they've bought your first services or products, you might want to expand and do more with them. And for that, you have to have some tools that allow you to understand the needs of your customers, the needs of the market, and also their behavior, so that you can influence it into, for instance, buying behavior. On the finance side, you will be called upon later in your career to make business plans that actually show that technology and science can be employed profitably in an organization. And for that, you need to build solid business cases with solid financial underpinnings. And that's what you learn on the finance part. Then operations is, for instance, about planning, about optimization of production processes, also involving data and having a scientific approach to that, where you monitor, for instance, the improvements that you design to see if you can improve them further, and that way gradually optimize your business. And finally, the research methods, which I already commented on, are complementary to the research methods that you have already adopted in your the scientific part of your master, your own scientific discipline, and then added to that, you get a number of tools in terms of research methods that you can apply in an organizational context. Then the internships is a very important part of this specialization, where you actually go outside the classroom and go into organizations to apply and learn much more than just in the classroom. So the objectives and learning outcomes of these internships is to, first of all, deepen the understanding of various aspects of business and management that you have learned in the classroom. So you get these tools, but then, of course, and you even get to work with them practically in cases, but then when you actually go into a company and apply them, that's where you kind of deepen your understanding further. But also you will, in your internship, most likely be asked to design, execute some scientific study on a managerial or business problem or commercial problem, and to design it and execute that in the right way. So these are the types of things that you will be doing in your internship. You will be gaining knowledge of the industry in which your host organization operates, knowledge of the organization itself in which you operate, understanding how complex these organizations can be, what roles and responsibilities and processes are typical in these organizations. You will learn that. And of course, you will learn a lot specifically about management aspects. You will gain competencies by being there and working. You will get interpersonal skills, teamwork skills, communication skills, managerial skills, but also, let's say, more on the hard skill side, you will hone your research skills, your analytical skills, and your problem-solving skills in an application context. And of course, you will learn how a proactive, flexible, open-minded, and vigilant attitude helps you in an organizational context, in a company, to be successful, and you get to practice with that in the internship. The value of this internship is really high. not just for acquiring all these new skills in a business environment, but also, for instance, to become really deepen your subject matter expertise in a particular domain, business domain or science-based business domain. It also helps you prepare for your choices to be made later in your career. It may be the place where you want to work right after. For many students doing the internships, actually, their internship organization is also their first job afterwards. So it's an excellent bridge for that. But it may also prepare you for making different choices. You might actually, after working at an internship, get much more clarity about what you want, and maybe it's outside of that organization. That's also valuable information. And here I show also a little bit of statistics that it's not just me saying this, but actually our alumni that were surveyed about this are, for a very, very large part, agree that these internships are extremely valuable to advance your career afterwards. So they're an essential part as well of our specialization. Examples of internships, just to get an idea how different they can be. So, for instance, Jorn was in Switzerland, where he was in a portfolio management role. Chantal was a business analyst in a retail company at bol.com. Then Nadia did business analysis at a consultancy firm. And, DSM, there was a marketing role that Blandine took on. So these are examples of internships. So you go into a company, you get a role like that, you work in the team, you solve problems for them, and of course you write your internship report and give a presentation and things like that. Then the third part of the structure of the specialization are the electives. So that's where you get to deepen your expertise further on particular topics of your choosing. And I'm just going to give you a flavor of that. So here is a list of electives. There's all kinds of things. And I will just pick out a couple to just give you an idea. Of course, if you want to know more about these courses, you go into the e-prospectus and you can find the details. But for instance, you might be interested to dive deeper into entrepreneurship as one of the interesting business aspects to deepen your knowledge on. Then we have two electives for you. One called entrepreneurship, where you will actually, in collaboration with Plant, the Leiden Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship, get further training on being an entrepreneur and all the aspects that it entails, including making a business plan or a value proposition, etc. But then there's also another elective, financing technology ventures, where you pick up the financial part and where you learn to build a case for an investor, for instance, into your startup company. A very important part of startups, scale-ups, or highly innovative organizations in general is that they need funding, and the way to obtain that funding is not to just stick up your hand and say, I'd like some money, but to actually make a solid case that convinces an investor to invest in you. And that's what you learn in the financing technology ventures. Very interesting course. But for instance, you are not that much into entrepreneurship. Maybe you're more into finance. For instance, you would like to go into a larger corporation where the financial systems are very demanding, or you might want to do innovation within a larger organization. So you might want to deepen your financial knowledge. So for instance, we have an elective on accounting, and an elective on financing technology ventures, again, can be applied in that context as well. Completely different aspect. You might be interested in deepening your knowledge into artificial intelligence. Who isn't? And then, for instance, we have AI for strategy as an elective course, where you'll be using AI technologies to help you develop a strategy for your business. Very interesting course where you tap into new types of data and you tap into new instruments for actually formulating strategies rather than just sitting back and thinking, okay, how can we do this? So you get a lot of automation there that helps you do that. And then there's machine learning for business analytics, where you actually get to apply some machine learning techniques on business analytics topics, for instance, to analyze your sales data or your process data, and how to then take information out of that and use that to optimize further. So these are just a couple of possibilities, and as I said, you can choose your electives to suit your needs as you feel them, given your aspirations into your career, or just follow your interests. All right, so then let me go into our teaching approach a little bit. So I mentioned already that it's case-based, what we do for a large part. So there's a lot of case-based teaching by international thought leaders, highly rated adjunct faculty from industry, and guest lecturers from international business schools. So we have actually lecturers that have, let's say, earned their dues already in either business schools or in business, that come into the classroom and teach you and bring in their experience from business as well. So you get, in that sense, a real feel of business, not just theory. And that happens in lots of different formats. Very interactive, typically. A lot of case-based work means that you dive into a case and you yourself, together with some other students, or sometimes individually, you work on these cases, bring out all the details, and learn a lot about how to practically do things with the theory that you are taught in the classroom. So that's about the teaching approach in the classroom. But a little bit more about our engagement with the industry practice. So guest lectures help to bring industry into the classroom, but we also go outside of the classroom. So you do that with the internships, as I explained, but also network events, company visits. And for instance, these company visits are at organizations at the Leiden Bioscience Park, which is a very nice environment to be in with this specialization, but also beyond. Trips outside Leiden are, of course, also on the program. So that gives you an idea about how the teaching, how the educational experience will feel once you're there. Finally, also some student-led extracurricular activities I would like to point out to you. So as I mentioned, we have some courses in collaboration with Plant, the Innovation and Entrepreneurship Center, but also at Plant there's the Students Association that specifically for students organize activities. So if you're interested in innovation and entrepreneurship, you can basically sign up there and do a lot of extracurricular activities as well to augment your experience even further. And another thing I would like to point out is Science Meets Business, student association founded by alumni of the course of the specialization, where there are different things organized. So for instance, every month there's a cafe where people come together on the campus, on the Bioscience Park, and companies, startups, and students to interact, to do networking, but also to listen to interesting talks about nice topics. So that's also a very interesting thing to become a part of. All right, that brings me to the last part, and I hope in the meantime you've been also writing some questions already in the chat, because after this we will see if we can answer a couple of your questions. About the employment perspective, so here's, let's say, the cold statistics. So the distribution over job categories of our alumni, and you see that, there's a lot of diversity. People go in different ways. Some of them go into consultancy. That's a very broad term, so that still can mean different things, of course. Some of them go into marketing and sales, clinical trial management, etc., etc. So very different, very wide variety of options, so to speak. But let's make it a little bit more, let's say, tangible, a little bit less abstract. So here I have a couple of alumni and where they went. So you see also their main discipline listed there. So, for instance, Anna Lee of the biopharmaceutical sciences went into a regulatory role of the, let's say, QA department of L'Oréal. Completely different. Michelle from physics went into a finance role at the Ministry of Finance. So, very different again, but yeah, you can hopefully get a good idea of the possibilities that open up with this specialization. And some alumni go and actually found their own companies. So we have, you can also look on our website for more information about that. But there's quite some entrepreneurial alumni that have started companies after they finished, or maybe even while they were doing their specialization, and using the things that they learned here for creating and growing new businesses, which is also a very interesting angle to take us, of course. All right, so then we arrive at the point of questions. So, of course, if you have questions after this session, if I cannot answer your questions, then you're very welcome to browse, of course, the e-prospectus around business studies. A lot of information there. There's also the website where we have information with further links, for instance, to these entrepreneurial alumni. And if all else fails, if you cannot find your answers there, feel free to send us an email, which will land in the inbox of our program coordinator, and which we will then try to answer for you as well as possible. And now I hope that we have a couple of questions coming up. Hi, I read economy. Could I apply? This is a bit of a cryptic question. So you can apply basically if you are going... So to apply for this program, of course, you have to take into account that it's a specialization. So you will be applying to a main discipline first, like physics or biopharmaceutical sciences, one of the disciplines I listed. And if you are applying for those, then within those programs you can choose this specialization. That's how this works. Let's see if we have more questions. Oh, no further questions. So then I must have been very clear. So feel free to still type one if you are fast, and we might put it up. But if not, then I hope... Which programming language does the education mostly use? Which operating systems are recommended to use for programming, such as Linux or Windows? So this is a question, very technical question actually. So this is not a computer science program. This is a science program. And you do, in some courses, depending of course on your electives, you will get a little bit more or less of programming or other digital skills that you will have to learn and apply. So in the core programming, I think there is very little programming or none. But if you take electives, then typically the programming language would be Python, simply because Python is currently the most used language for all kinds of data science issues, artificial intelligence, and for this specialization, analysis of data is actually one of the most important places where we use a bit more advanced digital support. So, Linux or Windows really doesn't matter. Any more questions maybe coming in the meantime? Yes, great. The question disappeared again. Yeah. A question about somebody that is interested to do the master in biopharmaceutical sciences, and now asks, what does it depend on to be able to enter into business studies? I think nothing, in the sense that it depends on your interest, of course. So you have to, when you sign up for biopharmaceutical sciences, at some point you will be asked to fill in your elective space, and if you choose to fill it in with this specialization, then this is that's it. Then the program is open for you, so no additional requirements there. How many students apply for this specialization each year is a question. That's around 80 students. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, that flow into this program every year. So that's about the size of the program. About 80 students will be taking the program at the same time as you. Let's see if there's more questions. No further questions at this moment. So thank you for those questions. And there's one more coming in. How does the university help you to get internships? Yeah, that's a very good question. So actually, full details about that you will learn in your introduction session, the first day of your specialization. But I can already reveal a little bit. So one way that we help is that these internships are actually known with a lot of organizations already that have taken in interns from us before, and they're really keen on getting more of these interns. So we have that network of, let's say, past organizations that you can then approach, and then they will be sending in internship openings, for instance, that we advertise to you, and you can react to them. That's one way. Another way is to just go out yourself and find these internships. That is possible, and that works quite well, usually if you have a particular interest in a company. And then we give you instructions of how to approach those organizations so that there's a smooth way of then flowing into an internship. And another type of support you can get is that some students like to do their internship abroad, for instance. So we have the international office of the science faculty that helps students then actually find these internships abroad, and actually also support you a little bit in whatever is needed for relocation to the foreign lands where you then might want to do your internship. So there's different types of support available, and in principle you're yourself in the lead of finding the internship, but we support you with that in various ways. All right. How are the exams structured? That's also an interesting question. So that really differs per course. So many courses actually, a large part of the examination occurs during the courses in forms of assignments. And then only a small part of the material is actually examined in a, let's say, formal sit-down exam in the end. And these exams are then typically, for a large part, a multiple choice type of questions to ensure that you have done all your readings and have understood the theory, but also some open questions for delving in a couple of items a little bit further. So that's how the exams of most of the courses are structured. And then we really reached the end, it seems. So thank you very much for being in this session. I hope you have found the information you needed. And I hope you will be joining us either in February or in September, because we have 2 moments where you can actually join this program. And I hope to be able to welcome you then. Thank you very much.